What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Going the Distance podcast presented by ImmaculateSports.com. Twitter's at ImmacSports.
Instagram, also ImmacSports.
TikTok, YouTube, Immaculate Sports. It's episode 241. Another very special time of year. A lot of things happen to fall here on this week because not only do we have baseball players of the week, those weekly awards, a lot of guys are still putting up incredible numbers. We also are a couple days into the NBA playoffs. Luckily, the Warriors snagged that 7 seed and won game one. We'll be talking about some players of the week there and the other series. But also, Kyle, Thursday is the first round for the NFL mock draft, and that's usually a halftime thing. So that second half, we're just going to throw it over all into the same show today, and we both are going through a mock draft to the first half.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun episode. A little bit of everything, a little bit of NBA, a little bit of NFL, and a little bit of MLB as always. But a fun week as always when we have the draft. Not going to be the same show that we've done in the past years where we, like the day after the first round, we grade them and then put another episode up. So maybe we'll talk about that next week for our instant reaction to the picks. And I think it's probably better for us to do that as well too after we see the full 7 rounds of the draft to really get a full picture of what these teams' plans were, stuff. So next week, if you're looking for those grades, that's will be where you will find them. But this week, a mock draft, players of the week as always, and some NBA players of the week with the playoffs starting to really get into full swing now. But that takes us to the openers. We always do the best thing that we saw this past week. I'll go ahead and get started with mine. A pair of things, the first of which Skyler already slightly mentioned, was the Warriors taking game one in Houston. I saw Austin Rivers actually talk about this today and how much a game one victory means for that Warriors team against a Rockets team that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. And when you lose game one and you don't have a lot of playoff experience, losing game one feels like you lost a series, especially when you lose it at home to a team that has the playoff experience. And I like, again, what Austin Rivers said. He was talking about how the Warriors slowed down the game so much that it just made the Rockets have to execute possession by possession on offense and defense. And when it came down to it, you're not going to beat the Warriors when it comes to execution because they've done it so many times. They've been through it, for 10 years now at this point. And obviously ended up being, quite a big factor into them winning game one in Houston. The other half is not something that we've really seen yet, but not even like rumors either. We know it's happening, but we haven't seen him in action yet. But Nick Kurtz, the number one prospect for the A's, is finally getting the call up. This is the day I predicted it to be as well, too. I said on Monday, I think he'll be getting the call. Technically won't get in until Wednesday because that'll be his first game. But once the reports started coming out on Monday afternoon from Martin Gallegos, Jeff Passan, and all those guys, but to see him up in the big leagues is going to be really cool. Seen a whole bunch of tweets and little social media posts about this A's lineup having Kurtz, Soderstrom, Wilson, Rooker, and Butler. But people are leaving out Shea Langoliers, Blade, Geloff, guys like that still that really, make this lineup what it is and to potentially be one of the deeper ones in the MLB, which makes for a fun thing for us with A's fans or being A's fans and being able to watch this team day in, day out. So hopefully, things get better and we get to watch some exciting offense in the next, 4 or 5 years for the A's at least.
Yeah, definitely reminiscent of the former lineups of the past with Semien, Olsen, Chapman. Hopefully we can get to that point someday because these young guys have been hitting the ball really hard. It's fun to watch. I also have some baseball for my opener. This episode happens to fall on a day where we're not going to get to talk a bunch about baseball. So this was one cool thing I saw this week. Kyle Finnegan, Nationals closer, having a great year. 8 saves, sub-2 ERA, a respectable reliever for 6 years now. He is in the 300 club for his career. It all landed on one day, 300 innings pitched, 300 strikeouts, and 300 games, right?
300 games, 300 innings, 300 strikeouts. Yeah, pretty the definition of a one inning reliever with Kyle Finnegan. But that was a cool little niche thing that happens in baseball. Obviously, that's kind of what baseball is as well, too, where you just have these little niche stats and little cool, intricate things, and Kyle Finnegan gets one of them with 300, 300, 300 club.
Yeah.
Rare feat in
At one
today's
point
game.
drafted by the A's too.
Yeah. I don't know if I would call it a prestigious club, though. I think it's more of a, because you kind of got to be mediocre at sometimes too. But I don't know. The ultimate reliever.
There were a bunch of inning and a third when I was looking through his game logs, and I was like, okay, this didn't happen by accident. Like this is cool.
Yeah. So shout out Kyle Finnegan, guy on my fantasy team who actually has a ton of saves already as well too. So that's pretty good. But moving to the player of the week that we have for baseball, who did you have for your player of the week in, what is it, the 4th or 5th week of the season?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cal Raleigh. My friend Dilly calls him the most dangerous man in Canada this weekend. He finishes with 8 hits to 22 at-bats, 4 more homers, bringing that total up to 9, which is now tied for first with Soderstrom. And he's also become the heart and the soul of this squad that's won 8 out of 10 now. A great streak. Great stretch here for Seattle.
Yeah, you went with the big dumper. I went with Mr. Smile, Francisco Lindor, and his great week for the tied best record in baseball, tied for the best record in baseball, MLB Mets. I don't know why I said it so backwards there, but 10 for 24, 4 homers, 7 RBIs, and OPS just shy of 1,400 for the Mets franchise shortstop. And he's really starting to go. Hit multi-homer game yesterday, had a leadoff homer the day before that, and I believe another homer the day before that as well too. So now becomes, I think I saw from Foolish Baseball today saying that he's been the highest in WAR for the past 365 days in the NL, and I know that means something to Mets fans who really badly wanted him to win MVP last year, even though he definitely didn't deserve it over Ohtani. But one of the most valuable players in the game for a guy who's been around for a while at this point at the shortstop position. What about pitcher of the week?
We should note that there's about 15 different guys that struck out 10 guys this week. But there is a podcast favorite who threw an absolute gem yesterday after holding his own against Arizona earlier in the week. Max Meyer of the Marlins strikes out 14 Cincinnati Reds with no earned runs. Definitely got to be my choice for this week.
Yeah, Max Meyer had 2 starts this past week. Both won 6 innings. Both good starts, like you said, against the Diamondbacks for 1. But that second one against the Reds yesterday is really what we're going to talk about. The 6 innings, 14 strikeouts, no runs allowed. The most strikeouts in a game since Sandy Alcantara, or for the Marlins, that is, specifically, since Sandy Alcantara did it back in like 2022, I want to say. But Max Meyer's been off to a ridiculous start to the season. 30 innings pitched, 41 strikeouts in 5 starts, 2.10 ERA. And his slider right now, I know this isn't week-specific stuff, but over the year, 185 times he's thrown it. I don't know how many swings he's gotten, but the whiff percentage, if you do swing, is more than if you don't. It's at 53.5% right now. He's making guys miss with that slider out of an anomaly type rate. So Max Meyer, good to see him back on the bump after a couple rough years of injury, showing that he could be the top prospect that he was when he first got called up.
These guys are projected to be right above that line that we were betting on a couple weeks ago. So I'm happy I did take the over, at least for now, before guys get traded.
Moving on to Rookie of the Week, Skyler, who do you have here?
A lot of guys really close. Shout out, I'm blanking on his name, of course, but was it Harrington that shut down the A's for Milwaukee?
Logan Henderson?
Henderson, thank you. I decided to go Dylan Cruz, though, because he had about the worst start he could have imagined in Washington. Now he's finally starting to figure it out. He led rookies in runs this week, hit 2 homers, stole a couple bags, didn't strike out once in 20 at-bats. So I'm very happy Dylan Cruz is at least playing like an above-average major league hitter, like he was drafted to do.
Yeah, I will go Logan Henderson for my Rookie of the Week because in his debut, he absolutely dominated the A's. This is a guy I didn't know too much about, but he goes 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, only 3 hits allowed, 1 run. And so I was looking into him. The frame, obviously isn't anything crazy. He's 6 foot 210. His four-seam fastball is averaging about 92 miles per hour. So I'm like, okay, what makes this guy so good? It's his arm angle and how much break he's getting on his fastball is like very uncharacteristic for the arm angle that he's at. When you're a two-pitch pitcher, 6 feet tall, and you don't throw harder than 95,
Got to have some
it's
good
pretty
stuff.
interesting. But his changeup that he throws with that fastball is also ridiculously good. They talked about it numerous times on the Brewers broadcast during his MLB debut that the Brewers are great at developing the changeup. We saw it with Devin Williams so much that MLB This Show had to change his changeup to a screwball. Now some people think he actually throws a screwball, which he doesn't. Craig Yoho, who actually made his debut yesterday for the Brewers out of the bullpen, has one of the best changeups in baseball. And Logan Henderson as well is going to be up there once we get to see more of him on a bigger sample size. But he dominated the A's on Sunday, and what was a terrible game to be an A's fan. But if you're a Logan Henderson fan, it went quite all right for you.
Yeah.
This takes us now to our NFL mock draft. We just did 16 picks. We'll extend it to 17 just to get the Bengals in there because why not? But I guess we'll jump right into it. So with the first pick in the 2025 NFL draft together, who are the Tennessee Titans taking? I didn't do any trades for this as well, too.
Me neither.
I think it would have been a little bit too complicated if we did trades and got it all mixed around. So no trades in this, but who do you have the Titans selecting first overall pick?
I'm trying to find the right fits for these teams, and we know some teams are going to screw it up. It happens all the time, and someone's going to trade in. We've already seen rumors about Travis Hunter, but I think the right pick here is Cam Ward, the quarterback. I found some of my old notes on Cam Ward when he transferred to Washington State, and he was still considered a sleeper. I wrote, he plays with the same confidence and creativity as if he was the number one quarterback in the class. If he has a season where the confidence outweighs the carelessness, he may actually believe he's better than Patrick Mahomes. That was about 3 years ago, and he's basically done exactly that. Extreme confidence and creativity. He deserves this spot, even if he makes a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, I'm on the same board here. Cam Ward going number one to the Titans. Definitely one of the most poised quarterbacks I think we've seen in a long time. Who doesn't? I know it's kind of memed now at this point where he just is so nonchalant as a quarterback, but it is really true. If you just watch him play, he's doing these little sidearm, not really getting his feet set. I'm curious to see if sometimes I will come back to bite you in the NFL because you have to be so much more perfect than you can be in the ACC or even the SEC or whatever conference you're playing in college football. But as of right now, I think Cam Ward is the right pick for the Titans, and I do think that's the decision that they'll end up making come Thursday evening, right around this time, actually. Number two, the Cleveland Browns are on the board. Who do you have them taking?
Potential trade down spot. They got a lot of issues, but as of right now, the pick is Travis Hunter, the athlete. I think Cleveland may be one of the only places that actually lets him play both ways. They desperately need that number one option in the passing game, but his potential as a shutdown corner may be even higher.
I have Cleveland taking my best player in the entire class, and that's Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State. I think Carter and Garrett teamed up could be instantly one of the best pass rushing duos in the league. And just if you watch the tape of this guy, I mean, he's dominant in every single way that he plays the game. So Abdul Carter goes number two to the Browns. Number three, the Giants are on the clock. Who do they go?
The Giants front office seems very split on Shadur Sanders, so I think the pick would be the next best available player, which is Abdul Carter, here, edge rusher, Penn State, if they do keep it. Because Carter might be the best player in this class. He has so many similarities to Micah Parsons. But again, like I said, this is where weird stuff could start happening because I definitely think Abdul Carter deserves the number 2 or 3 spot, but we don't have trades. So right now the Giants take him and try to pair him up with Brian Burns because Kayvon Thibodeau is clearly not working there. And I guess they wouldn't take an O-lineman at number 3.
Number 3, the Giants, one of the bigger markets in the NFL. I think it probably matters to them to take a big market player, and what better big market player than Travis Hunter,
Yeah.
The Heisman winner, the Shohei Ohtani of football, some people are wanting to call him. I don't know if I'm quite ready to give him that title yet. I think I have to see it in the NFL. really hope the Giants do play him both ways because that'd be a lot of fun to see, and curious to see even like what his fantasy value would look like and how high some people would be wanting to take him. But Travis Hunter's a stud, and if he goes to the Giants, I think that'd be a fun, intriguing pick to watch. Number 4 with the Patriots.
With the Patriots, I'm going Will Campbell, offensive line. Although Will Campbell very well may be a guard in the pros, this is a safe pick for a team that can't protect Drake May. It feels a little too high for Teteroa McMillan. He's a fine player, but he's not the same kind of athlete as a Drake London was as a top 10 pick. So I'll say he doesn't go in the top 10, the top 5. And Patriots go O-line. Abdul Carter's not here. That'd be the only other way they don't.
Number 4 with the Patriots, I think it's in between Mason Graham and Will Campbell for me. And so I just compared these two like on a big board, and I think I'd say Mason Graham is the better football player as of right now. And I go with Mason Graham. Coming from Michigan, it's a trenches type football there. Mike Vrabel's going to try to install that system in New England as well too in his first year there. And I think Mason Graham is the perfect type of guy to help get that going there. I know they spent a ton of money on the D-line in the offseason, and obviously that could be a huge factor. But I think Mike Vrabel, with the ability to get his hands on Mason Graham, he's going to not pass up that. So Mason Graham goes number 4, and Will Campbell still available at number 5, which leads us to the Jacksonville pick. Where do the Jags go?
Yeah, this is going to be a really weird pick. I don't think anyone's quite sure exactly what's going to happen, but I don't think they're taking Mason Graham. He's already gone for you. That makes things easier. You may be mad at me, but I have Ashton Jeanty. I think they're taking playmaker. They went receiver last year, so it makes sense if they're done with ETN. Raider fans would be so disappointed here, but would you expect any less from Jacksonville? I think that the only other option here, other than Jeanty and McMillan, would be Jalen Walker, because Jacksonville is just obsessed with those edge rushers that are fast. So I'm going to end up sticking with where the betting lines are headed, which is Ashton Jeanty 5, Jacksonville.
I think it's also reasonable. Obviously, we're not doing it, but this becomes a trade pick where Jacksonville doesn't really have a clear spot, and they can move into the later part of the first round, maybe get a second-round pick as well, too, and end up being quite all right with the guys that they get. I have Will Campbell going here for Jacksonville. I think when a lot of teams are unsure about who's the best player to take, you just take the best O-lineman, and it usually works out for you. It's oftentimes the least critical pick as well, too, depending on how good the player is. And Will Campbell seems to be a pretty versatile offensive lineman. They can play inside and outside. And when you're Jacksonville and don't really have an identity quite yet for your first-year head coach, first-year GM, shoring up the trenches is a great way to get there. So Will Campbell goes number 5 and stays in the southeast of the country. Number 6.
Number 6, it's the Raiders, and Ashton Jeanty's gone, of course, but there's still one more offensive weapon, we'll call him, available here. I have Teteroa McMillan. The mock drafts have him falling. I think they're just bored of him, honestly, because he didn't run fast. But offensive weapons always find a way to get taken early. It may not be, the every down back they were hoping for, but McMillan is a big body, big play threat for Geno right away. In this scenario, you can't take the corner at 6. There's just nobody worth that pick. Will Johnson's hurt. The other guys may be safeties in the league. You don't know yet. So I don't have any of them in the top 10.
If the first 5 picks go the way that they do, or the way that I said that they
then
will,
you're ecstatic.
Then I am ecstatic. And if I'm Pete Carroll, John Spytek, I'm running this pick to the green room as quick as I possibly can. Ashton Jeanty to the Raiders would be the guy I've wanted for pretty much the entirety of this draft process, except for before we got Geno. I was looking at the quarterbacks and trying to get Shadur and stuff like that. But Jeanty seems like the guy. When you look at offenses and you look at the caliber of offenses of the best teams in the league, they've always had a back that has the ability to just change the game for them. And we especially saw that this past year, recency bias with the Eagles once they had Saquon Barkley. Like, the offense just changed. It made everything so much easier for Jalen Hurts. It made it easier for the defense because they weren't on in the field as much. And when they were on the field, they were often up. And I think Ashton Genty has that Saquon Barkley-esque feel to him that he can change a team completely. And I'm not saying, oh, Genty goes to the Raiders and they instantly become the Eagles and they win a Super Bowl or something like that. But if you want to get there, I think getting the best back that we've seen in the past couple of years in the draft would be a great way to do that. And Ashton Genty is exactly that. So please make this pick if he's there. If we take Armand Membu and Ashton Genty's still on the board, I might break down and cry. Like it's going to be a really rough time. Number 7, though, from my team to your team, the Jets. Okay, lucky number 7.
I think we're down to a final 2 for this spot. It is the Missouri tackle, Armand Membu, and also tight end Tyler Warren, who I have them taken here at 7. Membu's very similar to Olu, which I think can be a good thing, but they just took a guy with a similar body last pick around this range. And Tyler Warren's not only a top option in the passing game, he's a tough inline blocker. It'd be perfect for the tough mentality Aaron Glenn's going for. Also, Tyler Conklin walks this offseason. They don't have a tight end that has caught more than a couple passes a year before. It's plus 400 for the Jets to take him at 7. I like that. I think they're gonna have to take some sort of offensive playmaker because you don't get a top 10 pick every year unless you're really bad, and we don't want to be really bad anymore.
Yeah, true. And no offense to Armand Membu when I was saying that stuff before. I just want a playmaker. An offensive line is just the most important pick that you can have from a fan perspective. But I also think it's the right pick in sometimes, and I do think it's the right pick for the Jets here at 7. I like Tyler Warren as well, too. I think that'd work out well. But if you're coming in as a new coach, first-time head coach, again, establishing the trenches is such a big thing, and being able to play right on the defensive and offensive line really changes how your linebackers play and your DBs play, and then it changes how your quarterback plays on the offensive side as well too, and everything around that, of course. And shoring up that with Armand Membu, I think would be a big time help. I've heard stuff again that he's a project and stuff like that it might take a couple of years for him to end up being the player that they think he's going to be. And I think the Jets are somewhat willing to go through that as well, too.
We don't have a right tackle.
You don't have a right tackle. And also Justin Fields is playing quarterback. So it's not like you have the best quarterback in the league back there and you're one piece away from winning it all. While there's some talent on the roster for sure, like there's some pieces that are going to be needed. And I think getting Membu would be a big one. So I have him going number 7. Number 8 with the Panthers, a team that is in a bit of a different spot than what the Jets and the Raiders are.
Yeah, for that reason, I'm going to give the Panthers the best player available, Mason Graham, left on my board. I know they're looking at edge guys, but, this is the domino effect with the draft. Some guys fall and some guys don't fall. And I think that Mason Graham will help any defense. This defense couldn't stop a nosebleed last year against the run. They were destroyed at the end of the season, even though the offense played well. So at some point, Mason Graham's going. It may not be the best fit, but the Panthers need defense. They're going to take defense.
They do need defense, but I also think they need a big-time wide receiver. And this is where I have Tedera, McMillan landing. Bryce Young was solid at the end of last year. We saw him go through quite of a whirlwind of a season where he got benched and looked like he was going to be a complete bust. Comes back in, still doesn't have a ton of talent around him, and ended up having a decently solid year with not much around him. And what better way to help your quarterback out than getting him a number 1 wide receiver in Tedera McMillan? I also would maybe expect him to draft another wide receiver later with how deep this class is. But McMillan looks like perhaps the guy that really can do it all in this class, and that's not something you could say too often early in the first round with a ton of wide receivers. So I have Carolina and the Panthers getting Tet at number 8, which takes us to number 9, a possible quarterback situation, and I think we might be doing the same thing here with the Saints at number 9.
Yeah, this is definitely a Shadur Sanders spot for me right now. I don't see him falling out of the top 10. So everyone who did pass on quarterback early, they're looking to trade back in for Dart or wait for the right time to strike on day 2. But the point is Derek Carr's hurt again. Kellen Moore needs somebody with some confidence right now where they're not even going to have a chance to compete. So Sanders may not be ready to go immediately, but he definitely has starter traits. And with injuries, he may be forced to play right away. So this is definitely a spot where a quarterback should be looked at.
Yeah, number 9 with the Saints, I also have him going quarterback, taking Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders. If he falls, it seems like a layup pick. And I know the Saints, again, another team that have a lot of issues, and maybe Shedeur Sanders won't be the long-term answer. But if they just go past this and don't try and go into next year with Spencer Rattler, being that Derek Carr is probably out for the foreseeable future, then Kellen Moore could potentially be on the chopping block in year 1. And especially the GM there as well, too. So if you take Shedeur Sanders and show that you have a plan and that things can work out, and if Kellen Moore loves Shedeur, I don't see any reason not to take him. There is some, it buys you some time, especially, with the, leash that some rookie QBs are able to get in some spots. If Kellen Moore thinks he can fix the issues that are apparent with Shedeur, not talking about like off the field stuff, but like, holding on to the ball too long has always been something that Shedeur struggled with. If he can fix that, get him out to get him the ball quick out to Olave and whoever else is over there in New Orleans at this point, I think that could work out well. So Shedeur Sanders goes number 9. Last pick in the top 10 with the Chicago Bears. Who do you have? Ben Johnson and Poles isn't there anymore, right? Or is he?
No, I don't think so. Well,
who's your GM? I honestly forget who the GM is, but who do you think is his first pick in the first round?
I think this is another team that's going to want to do something exciting, more so than safe. Everybody knows Ben Johnson wants to get creative in the run game, so why not get it out of the way in the first round with the Marion Hampton, 2 top 10 running backs? Hey, man, he was a part of the group that took a little-known running back transfer from Georgia Tech. Of course, Jahmyr Gibbs gets to Alabama and destroys it, but that worked pretty well for them. I don't think they take Loveland at 10. They paid a bunch of linemen already. The defense is solid. Why not take a risk? It worked last time.
So Ryan Poles actually still is in Chicago. Okay. Definitely seems like he should have been fired with the past regime. But Ben Johnson's first round pick there, double first is what you got to say there. I think will be Tyler Warren. When we look at the Detroit Lions offense in previous years, they've been super big on gadget guys and finding these little spots that could be advantageous to them. And what better than a guy who has the ability to really do it all on offense than Tyler Warren adding to this Bears team. We've seen him be a good pass catcher. We've seen him have the ability to run the ball. We've even seen him throw it with his left hand a couple of times. Will he be throwing for the Bears? I hope not. And I don't think Ben Johnson will want him to, but I think this is a slam dunk pick if he's there, and probably one of those best available type scenarios for a Bears team that has really shored up a lot of the holes that they had going into the offseason with a lot of the signings and trades that they've made in the first few months of the year. Number 11, the San Francisco 49ers. Kind of crazy to see him picking at this high of a draft pick.
Yeah, similarly to my Bears pick, and even yours too, I think San Francisco wants to make a more creative pick than the safe pick here. Just this time on defense. I think they want to get more creative on defense, hinting at that by bringing back Robert Saleh to run the defense. So I gave him Jalen Walker, edge rusher and linebacker from Georgia. And, O-line's always an option for these guys, but they lost a bunch of front 7 players. Jalen Walker's a guy, he could step into the Greenlaw role as a rookie, eventually move to edge. He's the chess piece that they kind of need right now. They lost Hufanga, too. That's another guy that played some linebacker. So you just need more Swiss Army knives on the defense, I think, if you're San Francisco.
Number 11, another piece that the Niners lost on defense that you didn't talk about was Trevarius Ward at corner. Mm-hmm. And when you lose your number 1 corner, albeit I know Lenore has stepped up in the past and they've had some other guys play well too. I think when Will Johnson's sitting there, they're going to be a team that's willing to take him and kind of deal with his injury issues that we've seen in the past year or so. He's kind of fell throughout the draft board in the past 8 months. I think we've seen him potentially be a guy who is like a top 3 pick perhaps. And now, land outside of the top 10 would be a bit of a fall for him. But the Niners, I would assume, love his talent and could be a day one corner if he's healthy. So Will Johnson goes number 11 to the Niners. Number 12 with the Dallas Cowboys, always a fun pick when the Cowboys pick high because you know it's going to be something interesting with Jerry behind the wheel.
Well, speaking of Jerry, I think that Jerry's best picks are the boring ones when fans are expecting something crazy and they take the safe route. So we'll switch it up here and go Armand Membo, the right tackle from Mizzou. Zach Martin hung it up. They're now 2 years removed from the Tyron Smith era. I think you got to give Dak a shot to stay upright before you blow this thing up. Wide receiver is going to be very popular, but I don't know, man. They need to change something up with this front office, and this would definitely be a slightly different pick than we're expecting.
I like that pick. Obviously, for me, Membu's gone at this point. He's long gone. Went to the Jets at 7. And when you're Jerry Jones, and when there's a small little wide receiver from Texas who happens to be the fastest man at the combine, running a 4.29 40, it's a layup. It feels like for me. Matthew Golden 12. I don't know what his odds are for that pick, but it feels like it's a match made in heaven for Jerry and his ideals on how to play football. So Matthew Golden, the speedster, goes number 12 to the Dallas Cowboys. Number 13 with Miami.
Here's where I have Will Johnson finally stopping the fall because Javon Holland gets the bag from New York. Jalen Ramsey requests a trade. They need a lot of help in a lot of different places, but this is a quick fix for one of the most important ones, defensive back for them. And what I've heard all week is that these Michigan guys just don't overthink it. They're all going to be good players, so they're going to go at some point, probably in the top 15 too.
Moving out of the top 12 is kind of where we start to get into some of the players that I know I've rose up draft boards, but I'm not really too familiar with them, and that's just kind of my own process of stuff. I don't pay as much attention to the NFL draft stuff as I do the MLB draft and some of these other things. But Jalen Walker is the guy I have going to Miami, and I think that hole specifically would be filled pretty easily with him. Edge rusher always, benefits you when you have more guys that can go after the quarterback. And after they've lost a couple of dudes that are good at that and creating turnovers in the past few years, whether that be Van Ginkel or Christian Wilkins, I think in Jalen Walker could help, rejuvenize that defense that's lost some of its key pieces over the past few years. Number 14.
14, we got the Indianapolis Colts, and I'm going to go with another Michigan guy. Like I just mentioned, it's Colston Loveland. These guys are going to go early because they're really good football players. Here's another playmaker for Anthony Richardson. Their receivers get hurt like every single week, so here's another option. Doesn't play receiver, of course, tight end, but you can use him as a receiver. It's very quick. I lost my spot. Hold on. Sorry. But yeah, they spent a bunch of money on the defense and O-line, so it just doesn't make as much sense to do that in the first round.
Number 14, similar idea here, or same idea actually, because I have Colston Loveland going number 14 to the Colts. When you have a quarterback that struggles, one of the best things you could do for him outside of giving him a good O-line is giving him a tight end that he can throw to and is consistent inside the numbers. And Colston Loveland's exactly that. Maybe not the biggest year at Michigan, partially because of Michigan's offense just not running that pro-style offense that we saw the year prior with J.J. McCarthy. But Colston Loveland's still, not going to go down any draft boards. I think he lands at 14. It seems like we have a similar ideal there. Mm-hmm. Moving on to number 15 with the Atlanta Falcons.
Raheem Morris desperately needs another pass rusher. I decided to go with Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. And although he doesn't have the craziest college numbers, the pick is going to favor the traits here. 6'5", 270. He played every single position on the front. And he might be favored over a guy with less experience like Michael Williams, Donovan Ezeraku. So I'm going to go with the traits here with the Falcons. They seem to lean traits, at least in their past first-round picks.
Number 15 with the Falcons, I have them going Michael Williams. I think it just, again, get guys that can go after the quarterback. It's pretty similar to Jalen Walker. Simple pick there. On to 16 with the Cardinals.
With the Cardinals, I have Kelvin Banks Jr., the tackle from Texas. And if someone takes him in the top 10, it wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't give it a bad grade. Like you said, it's the O-line. It's hard to go wrong with if you have a hole there. But Arizona might want to pull the trigger here, even though they don't need a left tackle. They have Paris Johnson Jr., so it's okay. There have been some rumors maybe he's right tackle, right guard. I think the top priority here is protect Kyler Murray. They spent a bunch of money on Josh Sweat. You don't need to go edge rusher here. So go another O-lineman.
Cardinals, interesting team because it feels like they should be picking higher, perhaps, with how they are in the NFC. Why not take a guy who's shot up draft boards in the past couple of months? That's Mike Green, had a big-time Senior Bowl, didn't even end up playing in the Senior Bowl, but was great in practice and then said, okay, that's enough. And has done enough for him to obviously shoot up a ton of draft boards. And I think him landing at 16 is probably the earliest he could go, because I do think there's probably Williams and Walker definitely going to go before him. But I like Mike Green as being a possible guy that gets into the top half of the first round. Number 17 with the Bengals. Do you want to do it? Because I got it as well, too. All right, yeah. We'll do this one. This is the last pick of our mock draft.
Definitely familiar with the first-round players here, so don't need to think too hard. Clearly two big needs on the Cincinnati team. They've lost pass rushers, and their secondary was horrid last year. Their two main problems. I still have Mykel Williams on the board. There's some off-the-field stuff with some of the other pass rushers, so I decided to go Jahdae Barron, corner out of Texas. Is he a nickel? Is he a safety? He actually, in the playoff game against Arizona State, he played outside the entire game. So he's proven he could play all these different positions. Sometimes it depends on the team, but I'm going to go with the athletic potential of the secondary over the pass rusher. Lots of great pass rushers in this class.
Number 17, we originally were going to stop at 16, but 17 just felt right to me once I saw that this guy was going to fall. When you're Cincinnati, have had the struggles that you've had on both sides of the ball. I know the defense is a big thing, but still protecting Joe Burrow is a big part of it. And when Kelvin Banks falls to 17, I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Best available type player there. And just like a pencil in type thing, I think, at that point. So if he's there, I think that'll be where they go.
Curious if they're afraid to start Amarius Mims yet. He was very young when they took him last year.
Yeah. That's true. I forgot about that. So that's something with the picks. I guess a general question. Any more quarterbacks in the first round do you think we see?
I think we might actually see Jackson Dart go. I would have him ranked around where I had J.J. McCarthy, and he went no problem top 10 last year. So someone will
Pittsburgh?
take him. Pittsburgh, or maybe someone will even trade in to the first round. Yeah, maybe a Cleveland or the Giants.
That'd be my guess. For the Raiders quarterback, I know people are talking about, certain guys being taken later on in the draft. I would prefer Milroe in like the third, hopefully not before the third. I think that'd be tough. But for anybody looking for my opinion on that, that's who I would want.
And if I'm talking Jets, I'll go Kyle McCord, fourth round for a backup. Sure, why not, right?
Will Howard, I'm also okay with. Obviously, Chip Kelly as well, too. There's familiarity. But I think Milroe, with our current quarterback situation and Milroe not hopefully playing in year one or maybe even year two, having just a chance to sit behind Geno and learn, I think Geno's a great guy to learn behind. So I think Milroe would be a fun choice there. But if we were in a spot where we need to start a quarterback, I'd be okay with Will Howard. I wouldn't be okay with it, but I'd be tolerable to go.
Okay, we don't need to fire him for that.
Yeah. No. But that does it for that. We'll move into a little unique segment, our NBA Players of the Week. We have 3 different guys that we have just the first couple of games of the NBA playoffs. There's always some standout performers. So who was your third best performer in the first couple of games?
I got a tie here for an Eastern Conference matchup that has been really good so far. I got the 2 point guards, Jalen Brunson and Cade Cunningham, maybe the best first round series so far. Brunson on a bad ankle is averaging 35 and 7, Cade Cunningham in his first playoff game ever, 27 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists are the averages. They've been providing most of the offense for these two teams with other guys not really showing up yet. All about the point guards in this series.
You peer pressured me to put him at number 3, at least get him on the list. Kawhi Leonard will be my number 3 guy. He had 39 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists in his Game 2 victory for the Clippers. Something values for this list is underdog teams getting wins on the road. And, it's a 4 versus 5, so we're not looking at David versus Goliath here. But for the Clippers to get a win in Denver early in the series obviously means a ton. And they did that last night. So the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard, my number 3. Takes us to number 2.
Yeah, we'll go into Kawhi Leonard here. Kawhi's Game 2 against Denver, maybe the best played game in these playoffs so far. 39 points on 80%, another 3 forced turnovers on defense, and a big win on the road. Everyone knows the series doesn't start until the road team gets one. This is going to be a great series. It's almost surreal watching Kawhi come back after so many people thought he may be done forever with all of his knee injuries, and definitely the best player on his team. I won't go so far as say the court because Jokic is still having an unbelievable series, but shout out Kawhi for keeping those Clippers alive.
Number 2 is where I'm going to slot Stephen Curry, getting a big, Game 1 victory that I've already talked about in here, so I'm not going to go too long about it, but Steph just made some ridiculous threes in this game, whether it was the one that he got off the inbound and shot from about 34 feet out, or the one that ended the shot clock, right wing, and just chucks up a 3 and it ends up going in. The shot-making ability is off the charts, and we know it is. So Steph Curry gets number 2 for the Warriors, who take a big Game 1 against the 2-seeded Rockets. I think that's also important to say that this is a 7 versus a 2 seed here.
Mm.
And then number 1.
Yeah, I'll shout out a couple guys who we could definitely see on this list next week if we do this again. That Anthony Edwards has been unstoppable, just not shooting as much. And then, of course, Nikola Jokic. If they end up beating down on the Clippers, he will definitely be on this list. But I got to go with Steph Curry. 31 points and elite defense on Jalen Green. We'd mentioned, is this guy going to be tired? He's nursing about 5 different injuries right now, including a thumb on the shooting hand, and he just doesn't care. He does unbelievable things. Every time he steps onto the court, he hit 5 deep threes, some with the shot clock winding down. And they beat a number 2 seed on the road in Game 1. That's unbelievable. He still blows my mind every time I watch the Warriors.
No. Number 1, I'm not going to say his name yet, but in his first playoff game ever, 21, 12, and 6, in a loss. But his second playoff game that he played last night, 33, 12, and 3, and a W, his first playoff W in the Madison Square Garden. Cade Cunningham is going to get my Player of the Week in the NBA, and that means something. If you're from Detroit or Pistons fan, like going into New York and getting a win when you are a young guy like that and performing the way he did is a standout performance for me. And good on the Pistons to take a game in New York. We knew that series was going to be a fun one, back and forth. We didn't expect the Knicks to blow them out, but to see it in actuality and not just be a home team wins type series is pretty cool. So Cade Cunningham getting a big win yesterday in MSG is going to be what gets my Player of the Week.
Yeah.
Moving on to our bets. No second half because that kind of was the second half in a way. Layups last week. My layup was the Warriors over the Rockets in the series. Obviously, it hasn't been done yet, but off to a pretty good start. This was also predicting the play-in as well too. So I guess not as layup-y as what you could think, because it's required the Warriors to win a game against the Grizzlies specifically, and then win the series here. But still looks good, even though we haven't really seen it come into actuality yet. For Skylar here at Cleveland over Pittsburgh on Friday, that did happen. So good job there in baseball. Tomorrow is where I will do my layup. I have the Orioles beating the Washington Nationals. I'm not sure what the line will be at because it's not out yet. But this is Sagano starting up against Trevor Williams for the Washington Nationals. The Nationals haven't struck it out a ton, and Sagano isn't a guy who's going to focus on strikeouts. And I think that's where it actually works out better for him because he's going to dot up guys and maybe get him off balance and could lead to some early outs. And against Trevor Williams, a guy who really hasn't been too well or been too good for the Nats in the early part of the season. So the Baltimore Orioles take that game tomorrow.
All right. For my layup, I'm going with some Friday night baseball at Coors Field, Cincinnati at Colorado. Matchup of two big lefties, Andrew Abbott, Kyle Freeland. I got Cincinnati in this one. Andrew Abbott's been nearly perfect in his 11 innings of work this season. Kyle Freeland doing the best he can for a Colorado lefty, right? But it's just not going to be enough. Cincinnati, kind of a second wave of energy here with Terry Francona, and they're going to get hot at some point. So let's start it here in a Colorado series.
No. They did get hot over the weekend against Baltimore. I'll say that. But Max Meyer shut that down pretty quickly. Last week, bowl prediction obviously hasn't come to fruition yet either. I had the Warriors winning the finals. So that's a couple months away, and obviously it would be quite bold. But Skyler's bold prediction, Chicago winning at Boston on Friday, did not happen. Even though the White Sox, I think, took 2 out of 4 from that series in Boston. Interesting season series that we've already seen wrap up between those two teams, where the White Sox actually win the season series 4-3. So the battle of the Sox goes to the White ones, unexpectedly, actually. This week, I have the Pittsburgh Pirates over the Angels tomorrow. That's where we have a couple of friends actually going to that game, ironically enough. Andrew Heaney versus Jack Konashowitz, or however you say his last name. Is always a confusing one. Pitch to contact guy for the Angels versus Andrew Heaney, who's been pretty damn good for the Pirates so far, versus an Angels team who's won some games recently but sputtered offensively, especially striking out. I'd say if this isn't bold enough and doesn't get that plus odds ball for whatever reason, Andrew Heaney to go like 8 strikeouts, I think is very reasonable as well too. So parlay that if you really want to. But yeah, I got the Pirates tomorrow with the Angels.
I like that one because he obviously knows that ballpark, Andrew Heaney, and Alex will be there, like you said, and Brett. So that's cool. I didn't write my Sham too. I forgot they're all going on a road trip. Did not write my bold prediction down because I didn't want to spoil it from earlier, but it is going to be Tyler Warren at pick 7 for plus 400. I think there's a reason that none of the Jets stuff got leaked out. They're just going to take who they think the best player on the board is. You know, Mason Graham could be there. It could be the pick. Armin Membu could be there. But tight end is something they haven't really done. And the Jets always zag when you think they're going to zig. I love saying that one. They do something they've never done before and surprise us all the time. So I'm going to go with the tight end, Tyler Warren.
Yeah. That's going to do it, though, for episode 241. 242 next week. Back to grading picks. Power rankings as well, too, perhaps, for baseball if we have enough time in there. Probably look at the NBA as well with the playoff series. Maybe we'll see 1 or 2 series be done at that point. Probably that Thunder Grizzlies series. I don't see that one go much past 4 right now. But yeah, any closing notes you got?
Everybody go watch Draft Day tonight or tomorrow night. Get ready.
Yeah, I actually saw that part of that movie in class one time.
Oh, okay. Have you ever seen the whole thing?
I don't think so. I've never been a big sports movie guy outside of Moneyball because I can't stand when they show people non-athletes playing sports in movies. I know that one's kind of more from the outside perspective or not from the outside, but not from the playing perspective, from the GM perspective. But yeah, I don't know. I can't watch All-American, anything like that. I can't get into it. It just it's too cringy for me to watch. It's one of my pet peeves.
Oh, I'm there with you. Definitely not the most 100% accurate to sports. I will say, though, that you mentioned seeing guys who don't really look like athletes. Major League with Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was a great high school pitcher. He looked pretty good in that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Some baseball ones are different. I've seen that, of course. I've seen Sandlot a billion times. But those, again, aren't really professional athletes for Sandlot. But still, not a big sports movie guy. I'll say that. Unless you're talking like Rocky, Creed, stuff like that. Like those are cool. But we're going too far off a tangent. We will see you guys next week for episode 242.
Good luck in the draft, Kyle.
You as well.